It's day 13, and I just wanted to say a few things about Asusto, give a little bit better of an explanation. So, Asusto is a condition of the spirit. It's a wound or a disease of the spirit. It's Asustado in Spanish is afraid or scared. So, the Asusto, when the spirit is wounded, and it can be wounded in several different ways, it can be triggered by the loss of a loved one. It could be triggered by the breakup of a very, very close relationship. It could be triggered by, financial loss. It could be triggered by physical injury. It could be triggered by trauma and abuse. Sometimes it could be triggered by a great deal of shame, an event in your life where you feel overwhelmed with shame. But it can also be triggered by an attack of black magic. And when the dark magic here that they believe in is a brujo or a brujero, they're like predators in the night. They go out and they hunt for spirits who are weak, who are not protected, and if they find one, they can steal part of its essence and add it to their power. So, in the sense that, yeah, if you don't have protection, if your spirit isn't strong or fortified, uh, you can potentially fall prey just by the sheer luck or unluck of the odds to a roaming brujero who is looking to collect and add to their power. So once you have a susto, you can you can carry that for a while, but unless you seek healing for your spirit, it will not heal itself, and it will just grow and grow and become worse and worse, and eventually it will get so bad that it will begin to manifest itself inside your body. Now, early stages, it could just be feelings of depression, maybe anxiety, uh, desire to self-isolate, withdraw. Could be a sense of being unmotivated, not wanting to do things, wanting to give up on things. A lot of times, as it progresses, you can go into things like self-hatred, severe depression. Then it potentially can lead to self-abuse, whether it's overindulgence in food or sex or pornography, and then it'll continue to degrade further into things like maybe addictions, alcoholism, drugs. All of this is just the body's desperate way of trying to cope with the asusto. Eventually, once it gets on into the later stages, asusto can manifest itself into physical ailments. That the Shipibo here believe all diseases of the body originate in the spirit. So physical ailments can have, like, heart disease is common. Diseases of the heart are very much attributed to asusto here. Digestive problems also, which I've struggled with, so I'm here to try to heal that as well. Um, even later on can get into like chronic diseases like type 2 diabetes, maybe, severe migraines, eventually evolving into even fatal diseases like cancer, right? Because all of this is believed that untreated asusto just gets worse and worse. So they they say that a lot of gringos that come here for medicine carry asusto with them, a lot, and they say that's definitely the most common thing they see here when they come. Is they're carrying these burdens of spiritual nature that have projected themselves into their daily lives, into their physical lives, and now they're looking for help and looking for healing. So they always start with spiritual healing. They try to heal the wound in the spirit, and then towards the end of the time that you spend here, they will give you kind of an inoculation, a spiritual inoculation. They call it an arcana. They seal your spirit in a protective aura to prevent things like sorcerers and brujeros from attacking it, but also to prevent the common triggers of asusto to wound your spirit, to prevent to make your spirit strong against the traumas and misfortunes of daily life. Spiritual immunity is something they practice a lot here. In fact, in the Shipibo culture, I see that people here are very joyful, very cheerful. They work together. They have a strong sense of community. Uh, they don't seem to struggle with the kind of things that we in the West struggle with: the depressions, the anxieties, the addictive behaviors. The self-indulgence. No, they're very simple, hardworking people that kind of believe that a strong spirit is just as important as a strong body. So they take regular actions here, regular effort to keep their spirits strong. They sit in ceremony regularly with a real a hardcore, powerful curandera that knows what to do and how to do it. And they drink the plants, the master plants. They go in dieta. And they follow a much more spiritual way of life. They have spiritual practices in their daily life. And for them, it's an effort, but it's worthwhile. And we in the West just kind of seem to neglect that. Western spirituality is more superficial. And by that I mean we can go to a yoga class and we can hold the postures and the poses for a while, and then we could feel better about our backs not hurting or sleeping better at night. And we can read a bunch of books and know a bunch of facts and quote a bunch of lines from famous spiritual people, but that doesn't really translate into spirituality the way they see it here. That does not fortify your spirit or make your spirit strong. It just convinces your brain that it is. Going to a yoga retreat where you have delicious food and friends to talk to and cell phones to take selfies with, and then just sitting in sitting in postures for a while and asana for a while, and then meditating for like 20-30 minutes does not really open you up to any kind of spiritual healing the way that they see it. Going to a vipassana where you meditate for 10 hours a day for 10 days straight and aren't allowed to speak, aren't allowed to move, just sit in one place and meditate for 10 hours, only stopping for meals and bathrooms. That's more what they see as a commitment to your spiritual health. Going to a ceremony in the States with an ayahuasquero gringo who just got their hands on some medicine and learned a few songs, they'll pour it. You'll have a wild and trippy ride. And yes, it's opening the door to a spiritual practice. It's opening the door to spirituality as the Shipibo see it. But it's the equivalent of just going to the gym and buying a day pass. And you go to the gym one day and you play on all the machines and you come out feeling tired and exhausted. But to think that going to the gym that one time is going to transform your body into something healthy and strong is delusional. It's not going to happen. Just like with going to an ayahuasca ceremony once a year, you go to the gym once a year and feel a little bit like you're doing something, but in reality, nothing much is going to change. It's a ongoing commitment. For me, the dieta here is 30 days. 30 days is the minimum that they'll accept someone to do a dieta. They will not do anything less. That is just like the lowest entry level of spiritual practice here. The dietas here are much more commonly last 2 to 3 months. There's a lot of dietas that go for 6 months. Some will even go for a year. And that's not just drinking a master plant and going to ceremonies regularly. That is committing yourself to a lifestyle that is radically different from what the West is used to. It is a lifestyle where you do not distract yourself with mundane preoccupations and thoughts, where you do not engage on social media, you barely speak to anyone. You sit in your house or lay on the hammock and you contemplate and you connect with the master plant that you're taking. And mine is right now is Ahosacha. I can feel there's a little bit of rooting, it's sprouting. It's going in and it's doing what it needs to do, getting to know me, getting its spirit to bond with mine so that it can begin to heal the Asusto that I'm carrying. that kind of practice is how spiritual immunity is built and maintained. So obviously in the Western world we don't have a lifestyle or a culture that can accommodate something like that. It's a stretch for anyone that I know to be able to take a month out of their lives and become completely isolated without any contact with the outside world. It's an even bigger stretch for someone to be able to do that for 3 or 6 months at a time. So that is why the Ship people believe there's so much asusto in the Western societies, because not just aside from their lack of spiritual fortitude and the spiritual practice that's real, like deep spiritual practices, not the superficial kind that we all like to engage in the West, so we can take our selfies and post them on our Facebook and Instagram. But the kind of spiritual where you go deep, where it's scary, where you journey to a place where it's dark, and and there's not any knowing of what you're going to find there, but still willing to go and be vulnerable and accept the darkness and work with it and heal it. That is the kind of spirituality that Westerners tend to avoid because it's uncomfortable. It's hard, and healing is hard. There is no easy path to healing. There is no pill that you can take to make yourself better. The things that we tend to want to do instead of truly heal is just numb the pain. Numbing the pain is easier than healing. Numbing the pain, all you need to do is find something fun to do. Find something to distract yourself from the pain. Go out and party, go take a vacation, travel, drink, take drugs, get addicted to porn, whatever it takes to bring your mind off of what hurts and onto something that can stimulate that dopamine. And dopamine is just like that spiritual painkiller that becomes the easy route for a lot of people. I know people who are wounded, who are struggling and suffering, who basically fill their life with distractions to avoid having to deal with it. And ultimately, it becomes a lifelong obsession to find ways to distract yourself from feeling what you don't want to feel. And that is how the asusto grows and grows and grows. And it's gradual. You don't necessarily feel a traumatic change, over a day or two. You'll feel the shock of the initial trigger, like the death of a loved one or loss of a job or something like that. Yes, you'll feel that. But when you begin to distract yourself from that and start to move on to other activities, other preoccupations and obsessions, you'll feel better. You won't be healed, but you'll feel better. But the wound will still be there. And the wound will find its way to the surface. No matter how many bandages you apply on it, if you don't clean the wound, it'll fester and it'll hurt and it'll reach deep down into your body and present itself with physical symptoms as well. So if you are struggling with who you are or what you've been through, and you're finding that the only way that you can relieve the pain is by occupying yourself with something exciting, stimulating, or fun, according to the Shipibo, you're doing the wrong thing. You're doing yourself a disservice. You're actually making your asusto worse by not just failing to address it, but deliberately ignoring it, not feeling it, giving it the space to grow, essentially. And as it develops and becomes bigger, it becomes much harder for them to clean. So when you come here, they will try to purge you. They will try to clean you. They will try to open you up spiritually and then begin that healing process. But the larger it gets, the harder that cleaning process is going to be and the longer it's going to take. So anyway, that's my thoughts on Asusto.